Welcome. Thank you for joining me on your mat. My name is Marisa, and I'm so pleased to be guiding you through this yoga practice today. Today's yoga practice will be centered around stretch and relax. So I encourage you to do what feels right for your body. So take breaks when you need to, listen to your body, feel how your body is feeling, use modifications. So I hope you have a mat. If you've got a mat, great. If you don't, you can always make sure that whatever you're using, you want to make sure that you are in with something that will not slip. So I encourage bare feet, always very important because you don't want to slip. So if you're using your socks, you want to make sure that you are going to be protecting yourself from any slip. Also too, if you're not having any blocks at home, we may or may not use blocks. You don't have to use a block, but an alternative to a block, perhaps you have a large book or a stack of books that you could use. That helps to bring the earth closer to you in certain poses. As well, we may or may not use strap. So if you have a strap at home, wonderful. If you don't, totally understandable. You can always use a long scarf. You can use a tea towel, for example, or maybe even a tie, men's tie. So there's always ways to find an alternate for modifications. So think about that if you've got something that you can use in your home at this moment. So we're going to begin. And I'd like you to come to a seated position, cross-legged if you can. If you do have that block or something to be seated on, a little pillow, that will help elevate your hips higher than your knees, which is very important, especially if you have tight hips. So you can take the knees cross-legged. If that's not comfortable for you, you can certainly leave your legs stretched out. So be protective of your knees and understand, again, your own body. So I'm going to take the thighs back and apart, roll the shoulders back onto the back body. Draw the navel in. I'm going to encourage you, if you wish, if you can, close your eyes. And just begin to cultivate that breath of yoga. So if this is the first time that you've come to the mat, or you've been to the mat many, many times, you want to start to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Long breath in, long breath out. This is called Ujjayi breathing, that breath of yoga. You're going to come to this breath throughout the practice, breathing in through your nose, out through your nose. And by doing so, you may even start to hear that sound. It's that breath of yoga sound. Sometimes in your head it'll sound like the sound of a seashell, or that Darth Vader sound by constricting slightly the back of your throat. And we always come to the breath. It helps to calm the body. Just notice the rise and fall of the belly and the chest. And if it's helpful to you, even taking your right hand to your chest and your opposite hand to your low belly. I encourage you to notice and feel the rise and fall of the chest and the belly. Drawing your tailbone down and just releasing the arms back down. Lengthening the crown of your head, top of your head, towards the sky. Back of the neck is long. And it's not uncommon for your thoughts to wander. So see if you can let go of any outside distractions. And just focus on your breath, maybe using a word or a mantra that might work for you, like just simply breathe in breathe out. Or maybe calm breath, calm mind. These last few moments, perhaps even thinking about an intention that you'd like to set for this practice today. If there's something that you're working on, working through, or trying to just release, just bring that attention, that focus to that intention. Just bring those arms up and overhead, your palms together to touch, bending your elbows, bringing your hands to your heart center. And just gently float those eyes open. Bring a smile to the face. And let's begin our practice together. Just release your right palm down to the earth. Take your opposite arm up and overhead. Give yourself a good side body stretch. I encourage you to draw the attention upward towards the sky. And now take that down towards the mat, turning your neck. And just be mindful of how the neck feels. If you wish to just remain in one position, bringing that arm back down. Let's take a sun breath, arms up and overhead, hands to your heart center. Take the opposite hand down, arm reaches up and overhead. Good, nice side body stretch. And then let's take the gaze down towards your mat. Try to lengthen here, nice side ribs long. Let's take that gaze up towards the top hand. And then release down, sun breath, inhale breath. Let's do a couple of these together. So inhale, you lengthen up. Exhale, hands come to your heart center. Two more if you can. One more time. And center. Let's bring those palms forward. Spread the fingers wide. Let's create a fist and then release. So we're working on some stretch into the body and relaxation. So we're going to try and warm up all parts of the body, including the wrists. So just take some circles. You can take a slight micro bend in the elbows, relax your shoulders, and take them into the opposite direction. Good. Spread the fingers wide once again. Draw the thumbs in and take a little fist around. And then spread them wide. I like to call these starbursts. So let's create some of these starbursts today. Good. We're going to take our left hand over our right fingers and just gently pull back the wrists, just gentle. And then fingertips down, take your hand to the top of the back of the hand, and the same thing on this side. And all the while, nice long breath in, long breath out. Try the other side. Palm, fingertips up, just gently pull back. Here you're going to get a nice stretch through the wrist and forearm. Fingers come down, gently, a little press on the top of the hand. And let's create some shake, 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 all the way up to the sky. Get some blood flowing in those fingers, all the way up. Last one down, one more up. And good. We're going to take those palms up, interlace the fingers, maybe keep the first two fingers pressing up like an arrow up towards the sky, and then come up and overhead. And let's come to the opposite side. Good, don't hold your breath. And hands to heart center. We're going to bring our shoulders back, interlace our hands behind the back. Now here again, if you need to use a strap or if you have those modifications that you can use, if you want to use those instead of interlacing your fingers, I encourage you to do that. But again, listen to your own body. Notice how your shoulders are feeling. This is a wonderful way to stretch out the shoulders. Hold a lot of tension in our neck and shoulders. Breathe in, breathe out. Good. Shoulder rolls back. Release those arms. Nice, good release. Should feel good. And then let's change the direction. Come forward with those shoulders. Good. And then we'll let the arms raise up to shoulder height if you can. Spread the fingers wide. We're going to bring the fingertips to the shoulder blades. And then draw those elbows towards one another. I want to use a little bit of resistance here. And we're going to inhale, draw the navel back, and draw the elbows towards one another. And then expand. Exhale. Inhale. Good. How are you doing? 2 more if you can. Warming up the shoulders, the arms. Good. Last one. Exhale, curl, drawing the navel back, chest back, and expand. Wonderful. Just shake it out. If you're sitting on a block, release that off, place it off to the side. Let's come onto our hands and knees. We're going to come into a tabletop position. I want you to stack your joints. So your shoulders over your wrists, spread your fingers wide, and your hips over your knees. We're going to curl those toes under. Find a flat back. And what that means is drawing your navel in. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose if you can. Now what I'm going to have you do here is activate those legs. How do we do that? Don't want you to let the ankles splay out. I want you to draw the ankles towards one another. Imagine the energy of the legs hugging in towards one another. We're going to come into cat-cow position. So we're going to awaken the spine. So draw the navel in, draw the chest up, pressing down gently into your mat with your palms. And then come into the opposite, into cow. So we drop the belly, the chest presses through between the shoulders. And then we're going to continue this on your own cycle. Breathing in and breathing out. See if you can connect the breath with your cat-cow. So exhale as you draw up into your cat. Inhale as you drop through into cow. Couple more if you can. Being mindful too, maybe keeping a slight micro bend in your elbows to soften. And what's important here too as well is if you have tender knees, you might want to consider putting a toweling under your knees, or you can Tootsie Roll your mat, just like I'm doing right now, to help protect those knees. So always be conscious of how your body's feeling and never struggle through, because one of the benefits of yoga is healing the body. And by doing that, you have to become even more aware of what our body needs. Couple more cat-cows. Try to invite in some movement, some flow into the spine. And last one. Coming into a neutral table position. Once again, drawing the navel in, coming into that flat back. You're going to have a slight little curve in your spine. If you're still okay on your knees, you can extend your right foot, right leg long, pressing that heel back, and then draw it back in. Take the opposite leg, stretch it long. Keep drawing the navel in, never holding your breath. I'm sure you're doing a great job. Draw that knee back in, keep the toes curled under. Take our right hand, extend it in front of you, bringing your shoulder away from your ear. So here we're going to pull our arm forward. And then I want you to draw that shoulder back in towards the back body, onto the spine. Soften the hand down to the mat. Let's try the other side. Left hand reaches, pull it forward, and then I want you to draw it back. Soften the hand. Now we're going to connect everything. So extend your right leg long, draw the navel in. If you're okay with it, we're going to work a little bit on balance as well as stretch. Extend and lift that leg slightly off your mat. Lengthen, pressing the heel towards the back of your mat. And if you're okay with it, try the opposite arm. Left hand, left arm reaches away from your mat. Lengthen the arm long, draw your navel in. And if you can, look directly down at your mat, keeping your neck long. Long breath in, long breath out. Soften the hand, soften the knee, come into a cat-cow. Drawing the navel in, we're going to set up for the second side. Extending the left leg long. Taking the opposite right arm up. Lift the leg off. Find your balance, find your strength. See if you can look down at your mat. Focus, breathe. Doing great. This creates a little bit of strength and stability as well as length and extension. Soften the hand, soften the knee, cat-cow. Going to separate those knees if you can. We're going to move into what we call child's pose. Draw the hips back towards your heels. Lengthen your arms. Lengthen your hands up towards the top line of your mat. Wiggle through your waistline, your torso. And just allow your forehead, your belly, and your chest to sink towards the mat. Let your hips press back towards your heels. Lengthen, side body long. Again, long breath in, long breath out. 2 more breaths here. On your next breath, let's walk those hands. So maybe tent up your fingers and then start to walk your hands over towards your right. Reach, reach, reach. So you're getting a nice side body stretch here. Child's pose here with the knees open wide, or a modification would be keeping the legs together and knees together. Either way, it is a hip opener, so you're getting a good stretch. Take your hands up and then walk your hands to the opposite side. Long breath in, long breath out. How are you doing? Breathing in, breathing out. And then take those hands back to your center. Stack those joints once again. Bring the knees back underneath you. Curl the toes under. And from here, walk your knees back about 1 inch or 2. Keeping those toes curled under. We're going to start to move into our first downward dog of the day. Downward dog, also known as Adho Mukha Savasana. So let's start. We're going to lift the knees slightly off the mat. So we're going to do that first. Lift the knees slightly off the mat. Draw the navel in, slight micro bend in your elbows, and then lower the knees down. Creating a little bit of strength and stability here before we get into that pose. Spreading the fingers wide, and your arms and hands are about shoulder width apart, maybe even wider. Lift those knees slightly off. Good. Can you feel that in your abdominals? Can you feel that in your legs? Breathe in, breathe out. Lower the knees down. So now we're going to get ready for downward facing dog. Start to lift those knees up. Keep drawing the hips all the way up. The buttocks up towards the sky. We're going to move into that upside down V. Drop the head in line, if you can, with your biceps. So the ears in line with your biceps. It's not that important that you have perfectly stretched leg. That's okay. Keep the knees bent as much as you need to. Long breath in, long breath out. You may feel this in your wrists, in your arms. Start to paddle out your legs. Just one and then the other. Left and then right. One more time. Left and then right. Soften those knees back down to the mat. Have a seat back towards your heels. Shrug out those shoulders. You might feel it in your shoulders. You might feel it in your wrists. Shake out those arms. Shake out those wrists. So let's try it one more time. So we're going to come back to that position. So I'm going to ask everybody to extend their arms out in front of them and then just slightly spin their wrists outward. And this kind of shape is the shape that you want to find on your mat. So we're going to come back down onto all fours, curl those toes under, take a nice breath, lift those knees, and then start to lift up into downward facing dog. Paddle out those legs. All the while you're lengthening your side body long, drawing your, again, head in between your arms, your biceps, the upper arms, and you're looking downward towards your mat, more so towards your toes. So you don't want your gaze to be forward like I'm showing you now towards your mat. You want to drop your head. Nice long neck. Pressing down gently into the mat with your palms. All fingertips engaged into the mat. That's your foundation for your downward facing dog. The benefits of downward dog is an all-around stretch. It stretches out your hamstrings and your calves, the spine, the arms, the neck. From here, we're going to bend through the knees. Now take your gaze forward. We're going to either hop, step, or walk to the front of your mat. And then release into that forward fold. Deep fold. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Again, I encourage you to wiggle through to find that space. Your feet are about hip width apart. Drop your head, let it go. Let's take a fold of opposite forearms, and I encourage you to sway back and forth. Find a little freedom here, working through stretching and releasing. And then let's bring that to a forward and back pendulum, forward and back swing. Try to release the tension in your neck. And once again, from side to side, get some movement here. And then bring it forward and back. Release. Release the hands down, fingertips down towards your mat. On our next breath, we're going to inhale breath, taking our palms, our fingertips to our shins. How are you doing? Going to come into a halfway lift to lengthen. So when we look down at our feet, we want to spread our toes off the mat if you can, and encourage all four corners of your feet to be engaged in the mat. Then spread those toes back down to the mat. And take a bend through the knees, take the arms all the way up. Good stretch up towards the sky. And hands to your heart center. Two more like this. Inhale, breath. Hands to your heart. Good stretch up. This should feel good, especially as we've been down in downward dog. Stretching long. Come back to your center. On the next one, we're going to come into a forward fold. Inhale, breath. Forward fold. Bend through the knees. Stick your buttocks back. Soften those legs. Halfway lift. Take a breath in. Inhale, breath. Palms come to the shins. Try not to press them onto your knees. You want to have a slight micro bend in behind your knees. Here we're stretching the hamstrings and the calves as well. Roll the shoulders onto your back. Draw your navel in. And then scoop the tailbone down, bend through the knees, draw the arms up and overhead. Good stretch again. I'm going to speed this up a tiny bit. So inhale, breath. Forward fold. Halfway lift to lengthen. Exhale as you fold. Root down through the floor with your feet. Rise all the way up. Hands to your heart. You're going to do this one 2 more times. Inhale, breath. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Breathe. Exhale, fold. Soften. Come all the way up. Now, if you get a little dizzy when you're coming up, they encourage you to take your time coming up, right? So one last time, see how it feels. Inhale, breath. Soften through the knees, buttocks back as you fold. Halfway lift, stretch. Exhale, fold. Root down to rise all the way up. Hands to the heart. Fantastic. So we're going to move into Utkatasana, chair pose. So we're going to get ready for chair pose. I'm going to face you, and so for chair pose, we're going to look down at your feet. We're going to have the feet hip distance apart. I want you to encourage you to spread those toes off the mat at first, and then spread the toes wide. Right? Shoulders onto the back. We're going to sink into chair. So start to bend those knees and imagine that you're sitting in an imaginary bench. So sink, sink, sink. You want to try and keep those knees at least hip width apart. So we're starting in this position first. How's that feel? Draw the navel in. I'm extending the arms, but softening the shoulders away from my ears. Deep inhale breath, exhale breath. And bringing your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Smile, because sometimes when we take a lot into those legs, we can start to feel it. They may shake, and that's okay. Root down and rise all the way up. Good, take a breath. Hands to the heart. Good. Going to do Utkatasana, that chair pose again. So I encourage you to do that. Spread the fingers wide. I'm going to turn sideways this time, so you can see it from this angle. So we're going to drop through, drop the hips, draw the tailbone down, lengthen those arms up. So from here, I want you to imagine that I'm holding your fingertips and I'm drawing your fingertips forward at the same time. There's a string right behind your back, by your navel, just pulling you slightly back. Breathe in, breathe out. Gets a little bit difficult sometimes, and that's where you come to the breath. Feel it in your legs. Root down, rise all the way up. Hands to your heart. Going to heel toe the feet together this time. So we're going to have our feet together, doing the same thing again. Have a seat, find chair. Soften the knees. Draw the navel in. Shoulders roll onto the back. Keeping our hands at heart center, what we call Anjali Mudra. Breathe out. On your next inhale, we're going to move it into a twist. So inhale, breath. We're going to release our right elbow to our left side. Pressing palm to palm. Breathe. You may notice here that if your neck feels a little bit like it doesn't want to twist or turn, that's okay. Just look down towards your feet. Come back to your center. Root down and rise all the way up. Release those arms down. Good. Inhale, breath. Clearing breath. Hands to your heart. One more time. Inhale, breath. Hands to your heart. Let's try the second side. So sit into your hips. Sink low. Maybe you can go a little bit lower than you did before. If not, that's okay. Just watch your knees. You want to try and keep your knees in line with each other. Inhale, breath. Start to drop one elbow down. Opposite elbow comes up. Draw the navel back. Maybe you can hook that elbow onto the opposite thigh. Keep pulling back your knees. Breathe in, breathe out. Come back to center. Root down, rise all the way up. It should feel really good to stretch those legs out. Hands back to center. Good. Shake it all out. Good stuff. If you need to take a sip of water, or anytime you want to take a break, or if you want to just take a pause, I encourage you to do that, because water is really important. So I'm taking a sip of water. Water is really important for our muscles and our joints. We have to stay hydrated, because that's how we will perform and work optimally our mind and our body. So water, water, water. Let's continue. Coming to the top of our mat. Inhale, breath. Forward fold. We've done this one. Halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Gonna soften those hands down. Walk your feet back. Find your legs. And find yourself back in that downward facing dog we found to be beginning of the practice. Paddle out those legs once again. One and then the other. We're gonna lift our right leg off the mat. Extend it long. Draw those toes back towards your knee. So you're flexing your foot. Extend your heel towards the back of your mat. You're going to draw that knee in towards your chest. And then see if you can step it through in between your hands. If you need to, use your hand to help guide it through. From here, we're going to drop that back knee down. And then lift yourself up. Bring your arms up and overhead. Hands to your heart. 2 more here. Inhale, breath. Hands to your heart. Placing both palms onto your front thigh. You want to be mindful that your knee is stacked over your ankle and that your knee doesn't go beyond your toes. So check that first. You can also soften up underneath that opposite knee that's down onto the mat for protection. Shoulders onto the back. Breathe. Extend those arms long. We're going to drop the arm that's the same arm as that forward leg. Drop it down, and then we're going to reach up and overhead. Doing a side stretch. Good. Nice long breath in, long breath out. Bring that arm back up, and hands to your heart. Releasing the opposite arm, opposite hand to that front bended knee. We're going to release it down on the inside edge of that front foot. Or you can bring it to a block if you need to. Placing that palm down. I'm going to start to do a side twist here. Opposite arm, thumb is going to come into the crease of your hip flexor. And just start to twist towards that bended knee. You want to think about hugging that thigh and knee in towards your chest. And then come back to your center. Place your hands either side of your front foot. Lift that back knee. And take that foot, step it back into downward facing dog. Paddle out those legs. One and then the other. You're going to try the other side now. Lift the opposite leg off the mat. Press that heel towards the back of the mat. Pulling the toes back towards your shins. So if you were to look underneath and look back, you should be able to see your toes pointing back at you. Get long. Draw the knee in towards your chest. Step it in between your hands. And soften that knee down to the mat, opposite knee. Square up your hips, lift your arms up towards the sky. And then release both palms to the thigh. You want to square up your hips. I call these your headlights. So you want to keep the hips nice and square. Again, making sure that this hip is over your back knee. Curl those back toes under. Take a big inhale breath. Drop this arm. That's the same arm as the bended knee. Drop it down. Reach those fingertips down toward the mat. Opposite arm comes up and overhead. Breathe in, breathe out. Release down. Release the palm, hand opposite to that bended knee. Place the palm onto the mat. You're going to start to revolve, twist towards that bended knee, that thigh. You can even extend that top arm up towards the sky if you like. Taking the gaze down to the mat if it feels better to your neck. Always lots of modifications and options. Good. Release that hand down. Lift the back knee up. Step it back to downward dog. Paddle out your legs. Maybe together we can take a deep inhale breath. And then sigh it out. Try that one more time. Take a deep inhale breath. And then let it go, release it. Bending through the knees, take the gaze forward. Hop, step, or walk to the front of your mat. Root down and rise all the way up. And then release your hands. Good. Gonna come up. Inhale, breath. Forward fold. Bend through the knees, that forward fold. Halfway lift to lengthen. Palms to the shins, shoulders onto the spine. Exhale, soften. Soften both palms down to the mat. Step your feet back. Downward facing dog. Gonna take our right leg high to the sky. Draw the knee in towards the chest. Step it in between the hands or guide it through with your opposite hand if you need that help. If you can, let's find high lunge this time. So we keep that back leg, that opposite knee off the mat, but if you need to, by all means, drop it down if you have to. So keep it lifted. See if you can bring your hands up towards your thigh and then all the way up towards the sky. Stretch out long. I want you to keep guiding your front hip. That's the bended knee hip. Draw it back as the opposite hip pulls forward. Nice long breath in, long breath out. We're going to release our arms back behind us. Reach those fingertips towards the back of your mat, and then from here, if you're able to, you're going to keep that one long line as you slightly bow forward, looking beyond your mat, beyond your toes. How you doing? Good? Breathe in, breathe out. Going to soften those hands down to the mat. Step it back, paddle out those legs. Take a nice deep breath in together. Can we sigh it out? One more time. Inhale, breath. Let it go. Taking the opposite leg, high to the sky. Draw the knee in towards your chest. Step it in between your hands. Again, option is to drop the knee or keep it lifted off your mat. Bringing your hands to your shins, square up your hips. Want to think about drawing that back hamstring up towards the sky. Reaching the arms up towards the ceiling, extending, lengthening your side body long. High lunge. Breathe in, breathe out. Extend those arms behind you. Reach those fingertips behind as you hug those shoulder blades together. And then from here, one long line, just a tip at the hip. Keep squaring up your hips. Your knee over your heel. Breathe in, breathe out. Soften your hands down to the mat. Step your foot back. And then pedal out those legs once again. One last time here. And when you're ready together, can we take a deep breath in? Exhale it out. Long breath in. Exhale it out. I'm going to take that right leg high to the sky. Draw the knee in. Step it in between the hands. And then we're going to take the opposite leg and step it in. Root down, rise all the way up. Hands down to the side. One more time. Inhale, breath. Forward fold. Halfway lift to lengthen. Exhale, we fold. Root down, bend through the knees, rise all the way up. Hands to your heart. Good. Shrug it out. Shake it out if you need to. Reset. Maybe pull some clothes. You never know, right? When movement with yoga is great, but sometimes things move. So just adjust yourself. Don't get frustrated. And start again. So we're going to take those feet nice and wide apart. So you want to have your toes pointing forward. The outsides of your feet are parallel with the sides of your mat. From here, we're going to take a breath in. Hands to the heart center. Slight micro bend in the knees, so soften. Don't press those knees too far back. You don't want to hyperextend. One more time. Inhale, breath. and release. We're going to work into warrior series. So I'm going to encourage you to take your right foot and turn your right foot out, so toes point out. Bend into that right knee. You want to look for a front heel to your back arch alignment and then float those arms up, about shoulder height. Look beyond those fingers. Bend into that knee. You want to make sure that your knee is tracking back behind your toes and the leg and knee doesn't roll in. That's very important. You want to protect those knees. Scooping your tailbone down, drawing length, taking your gaze well beyond your fingertips. And encourage everyone to just reach forward. Pull that body forward slightly. So way forward. And then draw it way back, opposite side, towards the back leg. And then come back in and find your center. Where's your center? Stacking your head over your heart and the hips, and then take your gaze forward. Working into reverse warrior. Flip that palm, reach the arm up and overhead. Back hand comes and softens down onto that back leg. Soften into that front knee. Long breath in, long breath out. Bring the arms back up. Stretch that front leg. Turn the toes in. Turn the opposite foot out. So again, looking for front heel, back arch alignment. Let's together find warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Soften into that knee. Take the gaze well beyond your fingertips. Shoulders onto your back. So a little thing to do here to try is squeeze your shoulder blades together and then start to separate them and lengthen out through your fingertips, sending the energy out through those fingertips. We're going to reach forward, move that body forward slightly, and then pull back like somebody was pulling you back. But you want to stay right center. Rightly center, present in this moment, but taking your gaze well into your future. Flipping that front palm, and then release into reverse warrior. And as you release, reach that arm up and overhead. You're softening into that front knee, not allowing it to roll in, right? Strengthen those legs, stretch it out. Come back to center, toes pointing forward again. Maybe you've slipped around a little bit. If you have, the feet have slid apart a bit. Just heel toe the feet a little bit more so that you're comfortable where your wide angle forward is standing. Going to take our hands to our hips, slightly soften in those knees. We're going to draw those hips back, your buttocks back, and start to fold forward. Wide angle forward fold. Nice good deep stretch here. When you let the head go, release the hands down to the floor, to your mat. If you need blocks, and you have blocks, or books, as I said, and you want to bring the earth closer to you, I encourage you to do that. Let your head release. Soften through those knees. Nice deep breath in, deep breath out. We're going to take a walk now with our hands and our arms. We're going to walk our hands over towards your right. Just reach well beyond your right leg, right foot if you can. Start to stretch out those legs, bringing your weight slightly forward over the balls of your feet rather than in your heels. And be sure that you're not hyperextending those legs. And by doing that, if you're a hyperextender, you want to soften a little bit behind your knees. Come back through your center, and then bring your arms and hands and walk in the opposite direction, towards your left. Getting a nice side body stretch as legs stretch, the hamstrings, the calves. See if you can drop your head. And all the while that you're reaching over towards your left, you want to keep thinking about pulling your right hip flexor back. Come into your center. And slowly, if you can, bring your hands up towards your hip flexors. And that's where your hips, that folded point there, you can even take your thumbs into that. Hug your shoulder blades, elbows together, slightly soften in those knees, and then rise up. Nice and slowly, stacking those shoulders over your hips. Good. Take your arms up and overhead, and hands to your heart center. Wonderful. Let's heel toe those feet. Shake out the legs. Have those feet about hip width apart. We're going to inhale breath. Forward fold. Halfway lift to lengthen. Exhale, we fold. Root down and rise all the way up. I'm going to do this one more time. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. You're going to start to soften in through the knees. Bend your knees, bring one leg down, one knee down. Sitting on your heels. So in a kneeling position, now again, I encourage you, if kneeling is something that's not great for your knees, then you can certainly just sit right down off the knees, stretch the legs out long. So find a comfortable seat. So right now, sitting on the knees, going to continue a little bit of stretch, and where we want to stretch, so we're going to stretch out those feet. So I'm going to face this way for you. I'm going to turn my toes under and sit back onto my heels. Again, if having the weight on your feet and your toes is too much for you, I encourage you to sit gently on the backs of your feet and the feet are relaxed down. Breathe. From here, we're going to just start to hinge forward, coming into child's pose. Release down. So this child's pose, our knees are together. Wiggle through your waistline. Release your head down, your forehead down. If your forehead doesn't meet the mat in this position, that's okay. Mine doesn't. You can always take a block or something underneath, or I encourage you, just bend your arms and stack one arm on top of the other, one forearm on top of the other, and then allow the forehead to release down to the top of your hand and act it as a pillow. And that works really well. This position here, you may think you're not doing very much, but by having this deep fold here, you're encouraging your hip flexors to get a good stretch, a good opening. I'm going to take those arms out, release down. I'm going to come all the way down onto our belly. Let's extend those legs long. Flatten all the way down to the belly. Release your forehead down to your mat. Your nose might get a little squished. That's okay too. I'm going to release those arms well beyond your mat. So stretch them long. Stretch out the legs. Point those feet. Draw your navel in. You want to protect your low back. I'm going to lift those legs off the mat. Any amount, even just the backs of the feet. If you're able to lift the legs from your knees off, then that's great too. Just work at your own pace. And then lower the knees down. Soften. Let's take the right ear to the mat, turning your neck. Then bring the head direction back to center. This time we're going to lift the arms and the chest off the mat, but drawing the navel in to protect the low back. Maybe you're even squeezing the buttocks muscles together, but keep your feet, backs of the feet onto the mat. Exhale, lower down. Take the opposite ear to the mat. Long breath in, long breath out. This time taking your head direction back to center. Let's lift those legs, lift those arms, draw the navel in. And if you can, maybe separating those arms and leg. Starfish, spread the fingers wide, breathe, good back stretch. Exhale, and release it all down. Bend your knees and start to windshield wiper your legs from side to side. That should feel pretty good. Taking our hands underneath, palms down to the mat, release the legs down, bring yourself up, find yourself in that table position. And then from here, let's bring the buttocks down, swing those legs around in a seated position of staff pose. Peel some of that buttocks flesh out of the way. Legs are long, toes are pulled back towards your nose. I'm going to encourage you to sit up nice and tall, stacking your shoulders over your hips. Seated Dandasana. Bring those arms so that they're in line with those legs. Shoulders onto the back. This is a lot of work in itself. We're going to stretch those arms up towards the sky and then lower them down. 2 more here. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. 1 more time. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. And then from here, start to hinge at your hips. So hinging at the hips, lead with your heart center towards your feet, towards your toes. You can use your hands as you gently guide them towards your toes. Again, if you have a strap, then I encourage you to use a strap. If you are, then you place the strap around the balls of your feet, one and then the other. It's important to keep it around the balls of your feet if you're using a strap and not the arches of your feet. Hug your elbows in towards your chest, shoulders onto the back, lengthen long. And then start to hinge at the hips as you lead that heart center towards your toes. I'm going to let go of the strap for now, so if you're using one, continue. Otherwise, those of you, if you can reach for your toes, reach for your feet. And then I encourage you, once you have that length, then release and let your head go. Surrender, let the arms go. Let everything go. Let your head hang forward. Let gravity take over. The weight of your upper body and your head can propel your stretch forward. Inhale, breath. Exhale, breath. Being sure that when you stretch, you're stretching warm muscles. So near the end of your practice, more important when they're warm. So at the end of your practice, when you're taking your deep stretches, calm breath in, calm breath out. On your next breath, you're going to inhale breath to find your length. And then as you find the length, come all the way back up to that seated staff pose. Start to move yourself onto your back, rolling yourself down. I encourage you to bring your knees in towards your chest, one and the other, and then hugging your legs in. If you can wrap your hands around your shins, interlace your hands. If that's not possible, taking your hands behind the back of the thighs. But what's more important is just hugging those legs in. Nice deep inhale breath, exhale breath, soften as you let the legs sink in. We're going to extend our left leg down towards the mat. The opposite knee is still hugging in towards your chest. And then from here, we're going to extend that leg up towards the sky, flexing your toes back towards your shin, back towards your nose. Again, if you want to use that strap, I encourage you to do that. Or you can hold the calf or behind your hamstring, but please don't hold behind the tender part, the knee. Please don't hold behind your knee, very important. So extend, find your deep stretch. And stretching is a process, right? I don't want you to feel like, oh, I can't do yoga because I'm not stretchy and bendy enough. You just have to let it take its time. You practice it, right? And just be kind to your body in your stretch. And then bend the knee back down. Extend that leg long. Let's try the other side. Draw the opposite knee into your chest. Hug it in first. And then extend that leg up towards the sky. Imagine you're standing on the ceiling with that foot. Soften through the back of your knee slightly. Find where you are holding on. And then draw that leg in towards your chest. Get a nice deep stretch here. I encourage you to try and keep the opposite leg on the mat, down. The opposite hip should be down. So if your hip is really raised up because you're trying to bring your leg really close to you and it's not an authentic stretch, that's going to happen. So start where you can. See if you can release and soften your shoulders down to the mat. Keep the back of your head onto the mat. Please don't hold your breath. Smile. It helps. And then slowly bend that knee in. Release that leg down. Take both knees into your chest. Give yourself a good hug in. Extend those legs down to the mat. I want you to roll the one out and the other out. And just release down. Let everything go. Let your legs fall open. Close your eyes. Take a few moments here to tap into your breath, tap into your center. What brings you to the mat? Long breath in, long breath out. Try not to hang on to anything at all. Let go of any outside distractions. At this moment, all that matters is focusing on you and you alone. Couple more breaths here. Couple more. Stay exactly where you are. I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to bring some movement into your fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Coming through movement, awakening your body, hopefully refreshed and renewed. Stretching those arms up and overhead. Give yourself a good stretch. Breathe in and then let it go. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a good hug in. Thank the body you already have and what it does for you each and every day and what a blessing that is. Coming onto one side of your body and making your way on your time, coming back up to that comfortable seated position. Join me. If your eyes are closed, keep them closed. I encourage you to do that. Bring the arms up and overhead, palms together to touch, hands to your heart center. Thank your body for what it has done today with breath and mind and body. And together we bring the arms up and overhead, palms together. Take a breath, hands to your heart. Float those eyes open. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day or evening. I'm so inspired to have guided you through this yoga class today. Be kind to one another and change your expectations for full appreciation. Have a wonderful rest. Namaste.